Our planet is beginning to become completely alien to us. With these strange and creepy discoveries of new species, our world is transforming faster than we can fathom. With the coronavirus outbreak, our roads and public places are looking more and more like a scene out of a movie. Take a look at these animals walking freely in the streets you used to walk on. These familiar animals aren't going to be the only animals walking in the very path you once used to walk. Maybe one day, you will see some very bizarre-looking animals walking along beside you. As the current rate of animal extinction is so much faster than normal, you'd think that there has to be a catalyst, and rightly so, since huge numbers of sea and land animal deaths are occurring, leading many into a state of fear and confusion, as this has never happened before, especially not in such substantially consistent numbers which we are seeing today. Thousands of birds mysteriously fell out of the sky and plunged to the ground in countries all over the globe. Many animals mysteriously dropped dead like the dozens of monkeys found dead in India. Their cause of death was said to be simultaneous cardiac arrest. In Kenya, 141 cattle fell to their death within seconds after a heavy rainfall. And strangely enough, on the other side of the world, the same event occurred. Australian graziers Matt Benetto was confronted by the nightmare of having over 10,000 dead carcasses lying across his cattle station. Strangely enough, after heavy rainfall. And on Hampton Bays, officials have reported a massive fish kill on Long Island in which thousands of dead fish appeared, covering the surface of the water with a blanket of carcasses.
I don't remember any day or any time like this. This is the worst.
I think it's horrible. It's a shame, and I just want to know why. You know, what caused it.
Florida is the fishing capital of the world, and its picturesque scenes of the Indian River Lagoon, long known as the most diverse ecosystem in North America. Its 156 miles of water boasts more than 600 species of fish and more than 300 kinds of birds. The lagoon is not just an ecological treasure. To the towns along its edge, Cocoa, Melbourne, Vero Beach and Stewart, among others, accounts for hundreds of millions in revenues from angling, boating, bird watching, tourism, and other waterfront activities. But these days the Indian River Lagoon has become known as a killing zone.
Oh my God, this is terrible. This is the worst I've ever seen it, and I've been in here since 1970.
And that's not just because there are so many dead fish. It's also because the dying is so widespread. A fish kill normally covers a small area, a pinpoint on the map. But right now, fish are going belly up from Titusville to the Pineda Causeway, from Kennedy Space Center to Patrick Air Force Base.
And today the murky sight of the lagoon has turned into a nightmare. 111 manatees from the Indian River Lagoon had died under mysterious circumstances, along with tens of thousands of fish.
If you walk up and down Indian River Lagoon, you will see this. Thousands of dead fish, belly up in the water.
While millions of fish washing ashore dead is distressing enough, the scene can look very devastating. But the most shocking part is the strange unidentified beings that are left ashore. Bizarre and mysterious creatures are suddenly appearing on land and sea one after another, sending shockwaves down the very foundation of human civilization. Many kinds of life forms are lost to extinction. New animal and plant species are being discovered, but like never before. And you don't even need to go far to discover them, as they're placed right under your feet. Scientists have been desperately in search of new species for decades, but only recently a wave of discoveries fell into the laps of researchers. In 2017, a giant rat fell from a tree straight into the hands of a mammologist who realized he'd found something new. The Vangunu giant rat stretches to almost half a meter. It is 19 inches in length and lives among the trees, surviving on nuts that it cracks open with its teeth. And what's more is that bizarre creatures that are never seen or heard of before except in legends or science fiction movies have appeared and baffled many. Is it a boat, a giant squid, a whale, or a sea monster? This giant mountain of an unidentified dead thing is decomposing off the coast of the Indonesian island of Seram, and no one knows what it is. Footage from the scene shows the colossal carcass washed ashore, turning the water around it a deep red. A frightening scene that took social media by storm, with many confused and completely flabbergasted at the sight of it. It even had marine experts scratching their heads while completely dumbfounded. Initially, the silhouette of the massive blob of flesh caught the eyes of a 37-year-old local fisherman, Asrul Twanakota, who thought that the huge fleshy blob was a stranded boat. Experts soon concluded that the humongous rotting body was a squid until they found the bones, skull, jaw and vertebrae. Giant squids don't have these bones. So it was back to the drawing board where Regina Asmitus Silvia, a biologist for whale and dolphin conservation, stated that it's some type of a whale, as with many other scientists all insisting that it's an enormous, inflated, dead whale. But dead whales usually sink to the bottom of the ocean, providing a year's worth of banquet for the creatures that dwell at the bottom. However, another argument arises. Scientists suggested that the floating could be due to certain bacteria of an infection, or possibly internal injuries which resulted in a buildup of gas, causing the decomposed body of the whale to float ashore. Despite scientists labeling this nearly 15-meter-long carcass as a whale, a group of marine scientists has reportedly taken samples of the creature in a bid to identify it. Many agree that it might be a new species of whale, or that it could even be the legendary sea monster, Kraken. Whatever this thing may be, deep down many suspect that it isn't another species of whale, and that it's certainly some kind of new species. Take a deep breath and look around, for the world as you know it is no longer the same, and will never go back to how it was. And as the mysteries continue, a creepy furry dolphin-looking creature appeared on the beach in Sakhalin Island with fur on its tail and twice the size of a human being. No one yet knows what this animal is. Many say it might be a dolphin. Others contest that it is possibly a whale. But to this day, this strange creature has remained unknown due to its thick, long hair hanging off the creature's remains, a characteristic that has puzzled marine biologists. Another mysterious carcass washed up on the shore of New Zealand beach after a storm. The footage shows an unusual 30-foot-long carcass with a head of dozens of sharp teeth. The New Zealand sea monster also went viral. Experts once again suggested that the carcass is that of a killer whale, but this has failed to overturn sea monster speculation. The baffling mysteries don't stop there. Another mysterious hairy white blob found washed up in the Philippines. In the Dinagat Islands, the creature measured 4.5 meters long. The speculation of the creature being a sea cow was spread around, as there had been previous sightings of sea cows, but with further investigation, the mystery around the unidentified creature increases. But at least in this case, the guessing is a little bit more adventurous, and they haven't simply stated that it's a whale or part of a whale. But in this time, the constant guess of mysterious creatures being another form of a whale has led many to roll their eyes. The appearance of such new species stunned the public and experts, and left with no idea as to what these creatures could be. Different new agencies across the globe are reporting the most supernatural and eerie creatures appearing in front of public eyes. It's unusual to hear news reports about creepy and unfamiliar animals being found on our lands. Many things have remained a mystery to mankind for years. 65% of the Earth has remained unexplored, yet only now such bizarre events are becoming so undeniable that highly controlled and filtered news agencies and social media are bombarded with supernatural discoveries to the brim. When have events like this ever happened in our lifetime? For years the news was flooded with propaganda, terrorist attacks, wars, or useless garbage of celebrity gossip. You've always known how utterly nonsensical the newspapers were. But today, the newspaper reports eye-popping discoveries. Why? Why are the authorities also feeling confused and helpless at the sight of such drastic changes? Earth is filled with life forms, but no one knows the exact number. Scientists estimated that the Earth is home to around 8.7 million species. Yet recent studies have stated that, quote, give or take, there are 1.3 million species on Earth. But this number isn't a fact either, because the census of marine life has given a different figure now, and have revealed on ScienceDaily.com that their precise calculation of the number of species is currently at 6.5 million species on land and 2.2 million in the oceans. According to the study, published by PLOS Biology, which is clearly shown in Science Daily, a staggering 86% of all species on land and 91% of those in the sea have yet to be discovered. But keep in mind, as scientists themselves have stated, that these numbers are just estimates, and this goes to show that these highly qualified and professional people in their fields cannot provide factual, legitimate information regarding the simple statistics of life forms on Earth. And due to their ignorance, contradictions are clearly shown throughout the information provided across the entire network. Not only is ignorance a sign, but no doubt the discoveries of new species are one of the signs of the end times, no matter which religion you follow. This day had been prophesied by prophets and messengers from different ancient scriptures. Strange unknown creatures are being discovered like never before. While species of birds, amphibians and mammals are being reported as extinct or endangered, such as the white African rhino. As for the symbol of Africa, scientists predict elephants would become extinct in the next 20 years. Can you imagine living in a world where elephants no longer existed? In the last 4 decades, Earth lost more than half of its biodiversity. On the 3rd of March 2020, despite the World Wildlife Day, which is an opportunity to celebrate the world's wild flora and fauna and the benefits of a biodiverse world, 7 animals were reported to have fallen on the verge of extinction. But the question is, how many species are we losing? Let's go back to the world's reliable experts on panda.org. Scientists have stated that they don't know exactly what is out there. It is a big complex world, and we discover new species to science all the time. The World Resources Institute stated, scientists were startled in 1980 by the discovery of a tremendous diversity of insects in tropical forests. In one study of just 19 trees in Panama, 80% of the 1,200 beetle species discovered were previously unknown to science. Surprisingly, scientists have a better understanding of how many stars there are in the galaxy than how many species there are on Earth. This enormous amount of ambiguity and ignorance of the so-called professionals is eerier and more bizarre than the alien-like life forms that have been recently discovered. But one thing is for certain, and that is unknown species have indeed surfaced, and many parts of the world are left undiscovered, and that mankind's knowledge regarding their surroundings is unreliable. You might be thinking then, if we don't know how many species there are to begin with, we don't know exactly how much we're losing. And that is true. But there are facts and figures that indicate that the news isn't good. To demonstrate the degree of biodiversity loss that we're facing, let's take a look at this recent scientific analysis on panda.org. By now you've seen a chain of different digits, all stating the number of species on Earth. This study reveals that the number of species is said to be either around 2 million or 100 million different species coexisting with humans here on Earth. The analysis states that the rapid loss of species we are seeing today is estimated by experts to be between 1,000 and 10,000 times higher than the natural extinction rate. These experts calculate that between 0.01 and 0.1% of all species will become extinct each year. If the low estimate of around 2 million different species on Earth is true, then that means between 200 and 2,000 extinctions occur every year. But if the upper estimate of species of 100 million different species on our planet is true, then between 10,000 and 100,000 species are becoming extinct each year. So through this analysis, we can see that the sixth extinction crisis is at hand, and we can all agree that we are currently faced with a very serious biodiversity crisis. Black rhino, Sumatran and Javan rhinos are on the verge of extinction. The Sumatran rhino in particular, they are extremely endangered, with less than 75 rhinos remaining worldwide. Just like the Sumatran elephant that has been pushed to the brink of extinction, making the current total number of Sumatran elephants left in the world to be around 2,000. Other animals such as orangutans are predicted to become extinct within 10 years. And vaquita, which is the world's rarest marine mammal, with a total number of fewer than 100 vaquitas existing. The number of Asian and African elephants have also decreased by 50% or more, leaving around 40,000 Asian elephants and only 400,000 iconic African elephants. But take a look at this new species known as elephant shrew. Dubbed by scientists as one of the most exciting new discoveries, is this mouse-like creature with an elephant's trunk. Despite its name, this creature is not related to shrews at all. This adorable cat-sized mammal is in fact more closely related genetically to elephants and sea cows. Isn't that interesting? Another iconic animal, the tiger, is also now considered to be one of the world's most threatened species, with the South China and Sumatran tigers particularly endangered, with only 500 tigers existing in our world. But take a look at this newly discovered little tiger-like species. Onchillas are also known as little tiger cats that are house cat-sized felines that were found in South America several years ago. With strange and unfamiliar creatures roaming the earth right in front of our very eyes, other very strange phenomena are adding to the unfamiliarity of our world. Take a look at what's happening in Australia. You've probably seen huge flocks of birds, maybe even mosquitoes, flooding towns and cities. But never have you seen such huge, giant bats flying across the roads and streets, and hang in all the trees nearby.
The noise is deafening, the stench worse, but locals are powerless to get rid of them unless they break the law. This is like from a horror movie.
And it was like a bat tornado over the town. That's how bad it was.
It just seems to me that every bat in Australia is now in Ingham.
It's a town under siege. Overrun by bats that outnumber the population by hundreds of thousands.
They have been called grey-headed flying foxes due to their size and colour. In the town of Ingham in Australia, the pedestrian paths are flooded with thousands of gigantic bats, with some so aggressive that they attack anyone wandering around.
Also, then Cody Rouge and his mother Renee.
We'll listen to music and then next minute the bat just drops out of the tree and hits the table, and as it was coming up it must have scratched me or something. I went like that to get it off.
The people are too afraid to leave their homes, and have become prisoners in their own homes to avoid encounter with such huge and aggressive bats. And if that's not a sign from God, on the 12th of March 2020, a news article exclaimed, "Why giant locust swarms are challenging governments and researchers." Huge clouds of locusts spread and covered East Africa, Asia and the Middle East, threatening food supply and livelihoods of at least 20 million people, as governments and scientists race to control the locust plagues.
They're so frightening, they're mentioned in the scriptures as divine punishment. Locusts have been harbingers of doom from time immemorial.
The United Nations says locust swarms are threatening the food supply of millions. They've devastated thousands of crops as they move across parts of Africa.
The swarms of locusts all began at the start of 2020 in Ethiopia and Somalia. From here, they spread rapidly to countries including Kenya, Uganda, and Sudan. Swarms have also been forming in Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, and India. And as the hordes of the giant bats and locusts deteriorate the livelihood of people, a fungus is killing amphibians and is responsible for the biggest documented loss of nature from a single disease, as stated by researchers. The disease, chytridiomycosis, has caused mass die-offs in frogs, toads, and salamanders over the past 50 years. Studies show that it has spread to over 60 countries: Australia, Central America, and particularly South America. Dr. Ben Shiel of the Australian National University in Canberra said, "Highly virulent wildlife disease, including chytridiomycosis, is contributing to the Earth's 6th mass extinction." While our familiar and known amphibians are becoming extinct, new frog species are being discovered. Mysterious frog species are being discovered in India's Western Ghats. Researchers discovered a brand new species of frog in a dirty roadside puddle. The species belongs to a new genus which the scientists have named Mysticellus. Bird species are facing extinction at a faster rate than previously thought. So even though you might say extinction is a natural process, it's quite troubling considering that recent studies suggest that the rate at which species are going extinct is much higher than expected. But to make up for the loss, it seems, a wave of newly discovered bird species begins to surface. 10 new bird species have been discovered. This number is much higher than expected, and never have we had so many discovered in a century. When we look back in history, we see the different kinds of species that once roamed the earth. who have now become nothing but a story in ancient scriptures. Massive extinctions took place millions of years ago. Millions of species disappeared forever during these periods of mass animal deaths. From dinosaurs to saber-toothed cats, American lions, woolly mammoths, and other remarkable creatures that once dominated Earth's landscapes now cease to exist. These megafauna went extinct around 12,000 years ago. Saber-toothed cats, which are also referred to as saber-toothed tigers, were built like compact lions and were found to have lived 9 million years ago, some up to the last ice age, which was 10,000 years ago. These fascinating and incredible cats have become extinct in the same way as other extraordinary animals, such as the Caribbean monk seal, which was once an abundant species, and a distant relative of the Hawaiian monk seal, which was declared extinct in 2008. It is the only species of seal to have become extinct in modern times. The West African black rhinoceros measured between 9.8 to 12.3 feet long and weighs roughly 1,400 kilograms, was once widespread in the savanna of sub-Saharan Africa, and in 2011 the West African black rhinoceros was proclaimed extinct, and one that's very close to extinction is the white rhinoceros, or square-lipped rhinoceros, which is the largest species of rhinoceros. It has lasted thousands of years, but only recently have its numbers dropped extremely low. In 2015, their numbers were estimated to be between 19,000 to 21,077. However, in March of 2018, the last northern white male rhinoceros died at the age of 45 after undergoing multiple breeding programs which all failed with it. Currently, only 2 living female white rhinoceroses remain. Scientists fear the unthinkable, as predictions suggest that 3/4 of all known species could disappear in just a couple of centuries, and mass animal deaths are rapidly increasing day by day. And if that's not enough, since 14th of January 2020, fires this season have burned an estimated 46 million acres in Australia. That is 186,000 square kilometers. The number of animals that have been killed is devastatingly huge, that it's pushed some already endangered species to the brink of extinction.
Downright apocalyptic images coming out of Australia right now.
There are now 6 fires burning at emergency level.
The smoke is so intense and so thick it can be seen from space. 2,000 homes have been destroyed.
6 million hectares of land charred.
A staggering toll on the nation's wildlife.
This is just heartbreaking.
State and federal authorities are struggling to control these enormous blazes, even with firefighting assistance from other countries, including the US. Many people are quick to say, we've been through it all before, that worse events have taken place in the past, or it's just a part of natural climate variability. And yes, certainly, Australia has a long history of bushfires. But several factors make Eastern Australia's recent fire crisis different from its infamous bushfires of the past. First is the enormous geographic spread of this season's fires that must be considered, and second, the absence of El Niño. a natural climate variability, conditions typically associated with previous severe fires. Natural variability may be increasingly flooded by human influences on the climate, resulting in Australia's hottest summer on record and a record-breaking year of heat and drought. Thirdly, and most importantly, these fires were preceded by the hottest and driest conditions in Australian history. This combination of unusual natural variability in the Indian and Southern Oceans, the unprecedented lack of winter rains in 2017, 18 and 19 have contributed to the extreme drought currently affecting 100% of New South Wales and 67% of Queensland. These factors have combined to bake the landscape dry, even transforming usually wet subtropical rainforests into available fuel for this season's catastrophic bushfire conditions. These catastrophic events currently taking place, from mass animal deaths to extinctions, along with its entire surrounding and triggering phenomenon, is truly unique.
New numbers emerging that show the sad and terrible toll of Australia's wildfire crisis. A professor at the University of Sydney estimates nearly 500 million animals have been killed by the bushfires that have torched 3 million hectares of New South Wales alone.
As many agree, man-made pollutions and the wrong actions taken by those in charge have caused global ecological problems and the reason for the catastrophic end of time's events. We've blamed tectonic drifts and climate change, meteorites and natural disasters for the extinction of species in the past. But the symptoms are not to be blamed, but the actual disease, virus, or parasite. Today, as the 6th mass extinction is taking place right now, and various new channels have reported flocks of birds falling from the sky, thousands of flamingos, penguins, and millions of fish washing up on the shores of the countries all around the globe. This all sounds like the prophecy of Prophet Hosea in the Bible, as he told us that this event would take place.
That is why your land is in mourning, and everyone is wasting away. Even the wild animals, the birds of the sky, and the fish of the sea are disappearing.
And before this verse, Hosea even gives the reason as to why this is happening.
There is only cursing, lying, and murder, stealing and adultery. They break all bounds, and bloodshed follows bloodshed.
Observably, the reason is due to the sin of mankind, which is likened to a deadly virus, a parasite, and a violent fire causing death and destruction. When you see news reports about natural disasters, mass extinctions, and the discovery of new species, you intellectually recognize that something revolutionary is happening on Earth to have resulted in such a crisis. The wildfire in Australia and the horrifying images emerging from the fires may just be the wake-up call. The photographic scenes are submerged in hellish red glowing flames, as though the fires of hell had seeped through the barriers below, engulfing the world's landscapes. All of this is followed by the appearance of a massive wave of new species, leaving the so-called scholars and experts clearly clueless. These events are most certainly the message we've been hearing from the prophets and the messengers for thousands of years. And the appearance of new species changing the world around us, with no turning back, has resulted in a strong and undeniable revolution. At this point in time, you have two choices: either bury your head in the ground or face the music.